Hey, hi, and welcome back to the Southern Millennial Mom podcast. I am Samantha May, and I'm your official Southern Millennial Mom. I am beyond excited that you have decided to return to this random woman on the internet. I may not be random, you may know me in person, but I'm so glad that you have returned, and I hope that I remember to say this every single episode, thanking you and hoping that you return. True, I could just record the thank you and edit it. It's really hard to say, but do that and put it in all of my episodes. But I think that would be disingenuous, if that's the right phrase. This is something personal for me, and I want it to be personal for you as well. It seems kind of silly because you're just hearing a recording, but it's a lot of work to do this, to look up information, to go over what I'm going to say, and hope that I don't say, because I don't think I say those phrases while having a conversation with friends, and that's what I hope we can be, so that you can share your stories with me and I can give my perspective if that's something that you want, because I do love helping people come to decisions, whether it's, the advice I give and the decisions that I've made. It's all that stuff. But if you are actually new here and this is the first time you're listening to the podcast, I highly recommend that you at least go back to episode 1. Let me introduce me, because that has a lot of information about myself that is just too much to put in the description of the podcast. And I feel like if you don't know who I am, you don't know my mindset, my beliefs, my values, you might not understand where I'm coming from with all of these things that I'm talking about that are important to me. And as a quick recap of episode 2, I am talking about chores and what's age appropriate for the kids, and what we as parents, or even before we have kids, spouses, should be responsible for around the house. One thing that came to mind later after recording that episode, I didn't even think about it until, again, later, about blended families and whether or not the two families come together and they both have kids, or one has kids and the other doesn't. But that should be a conversation really between you and your significant other. If you come together and you both have kids, you both have the same age, or kids around the same age, or you have kids that are completely different ages, you as parents need to come together to talk about what kids will be responsible for, what chores, but also remember to include the children, especially the older children, so that they feel like they're important enough to help make this decision, because there may be chores that they just can't do, either physically, or they have sensory issues, or mentally. Before anybody can get into arms, like, I know what my kids are capable of doing and what they're not capable of doing, and so many other controversial thoughts, and how you don't trust your kids to do certain tasks. You need to be able to teach them it may take them 100 times to be told how to do something correctly because, they're kids. And I emphasize so many times that the chores that you assign your children, and it doesn't matter what age, it is what you're comfortable and confident in letting them do. Now, they're not two things that are always the same. You can be comfortable with your kids sweeping the floor. Doesn't mean you have to be confident that they will do it correctly the first time or the 99th time. But eventually you have to be comfortable and confident in your kids accomplishing these chores because they're gonna move out at some point, hopefully anyways, to become independent, good, hardworking adults. And if they can't do something as simple as cooking or doing their laundry, I don't want to say that they're not going to make it in life, but those are two things at the very least. Even if it's just cooking in the microwave or the air fryer or the Instapot. And when it comes to laundry, don't always be doing their laundry because they'll be coming back if they go to college and eventually get a job or a career and they can't do their laundry. They'll bring their laundry to you, and eventually, at some point, you won't be there for them to do that kind of thing, and they need to become independent adults. And you hear this a lot, at least I do, that people that are looking to get married, they don't want to have to mother. They don't want to have to mother their spouse. I know I love the fact that my husband can clean, can do his own laundry, can cook. I love the fact that he can cook. And my daughter's at the age now where we are teaching her how to do laundry correctly. Well, she's been doing her own washing and drying for several years now, but only in the past year and a half she's been responsible for folding her own laundry and putting away. And my husband is starting now to teach her how to cook on our blacktop grill and to cook on the grill. And I hope that her future husband, if she plans on getting married, I hope he can, cook to obviously be able to do his own laundry, because there may be days where she is not mentally or physically in a place where she can do those things, and she may need his help. And you can't always order out, because the way that prices are now, it is ridiculous. I spent $30 at Sonic the other day for 3 meals at Sonic. And I hope she has a spouse that knows how to cook, knows how to do laundry, so that he can help her when she can't do it. And I feel like that's a really kind of good segue into today's topic, which is being a mother-in-law. And I know some people are thinking, your daughter's only 12. Why are you worried about her future spouse or you being a mother-in-law? Let me tell you why. I currently have heard so many awful mother-in-law stories on social media, especially TikTok. There is a TikToker who basically her whole account is about bad mothers-in-law, whether it is her personal experience, skits that she made up, or her follower stories. yes, while a lot of them are funny, some of them are like, oh my goodness gracious. Are there really women out there that treat their daughters-in-law or their sons-in-law like that? Because I got so blessed by an angel of a mother-in-law. Is she perfect? No. Does she make mistakes sometimes? Yes. But I honestly believe that this woman is a gift from God to the wretched people on earth. And if you know her personally, you know I'm not wrong. You know I am not wrong. I don't think she will mind me using her name on here because of the amazing wonderfulness that she is. She's going to be on a future episode talking about being a mother with kids that all of her kids have moved out. Most of them are married. We're still waiting on two. If you two are listening, come on, step up. I love y'all. But my mother-in-law, Monica, has become the mother that I didn't know for the longest time that I needed. Like, growing up, well, first off, I haven't had any contact with my mother for going on almost 2 years now. I want to say we had limited contact with her for a year and a half. Before that, I think it's been roughly 3 years of limited contact to no contact, because I realized that her behavior toward us and toward my in-laws' family was very toxic. It was a very hard decision, and while I am struggling with it, my husband is also struggling with it because he doesn't understand why we would have to cut off that contact, because we love her. And I do love my mother. She is my mother. She brought me into this world, which allowed me to meet the amazing man that I married and have the amazing daughter that I have, and meet the amazing woman that became my mother-in-law. And this woman treats me not like somebody who married into her family. She treats me like a daughter, and she praises me when, I've accomplished something. She's lovingly, the best word I can think of is reprimand me, I guess. And that's really kind of how I feel like every mother-in-law should be. Obviously, not every mother-in-law will be like that, but I think it starts off with how you are as a mother. Several of the stories that I hear are of the awful mothers-in-law are really these mothers that are so dependent on the attention of their child that they have come to hate the fact that some other woman has taken that attention from them, has taught their child how to do things that no longer require constantly asking mother-in-law, hey, how do you do this? Because I think mothers-in-law that have that kind of mindset, like, if I only teach them the bare minimum, or these complicated stepped tasks, they're always going to have to come back and ask me how to do these things. And right now, and like I was talking about in episode 2, I am teaching my daughter to become an independent woman. Like, yes, I want her to come seek advice, seek help from me, obviously, but I want her to be able to do things on her own without requiring my input. If she wants to get my input, I will definitely give it to her, but I'll also do a happy dance if we're on the phone, or do it whenever she leaves. Obviously, right now, she's constantly asking me how to do things that, I've obviously instructed her on how to do, but she's only 12, and a lot of the things she's not really comprehending why she needs to do it, like washing the dishes. One of her current chores that was just initiated into her responsibility. Before, it was just loading, unloading the dishwasher, and I would hand wash all the things that either didn't fit or couldn't go in the dishwasher. My husband and I discussed it, and we're like, okay, she can start hand washing these dishes, because she may move into an apartment that doesn't have a dishwasher. She may buy a house that doesn't have a dishwasher already in it, and she needs to know how to get these dishes clean. She's been helping me basically do laundry for years now. She's helped move laundry over, so she knows how to do that. When she was old enough to stand actually on the floor and reach wherever we have the detergent and whatnot, she started washing and drying her own laundry. For the past year and a half, she has started folding her own laundry. And I've started trusting her and becoming confident that she will do all these and not just shove everything in there. And I'm trusting her to do all these things, because eventually there may come a point I'm not going to be here, or I'm not going to have easy access to her. If she chooses to go to a school, a college, or whatever, in a completely different state that we have to fly to or take several hour drives to get to, she needs to be able to do these tasks by herself. And as mothers, we're supposed to be teaching our kids to do these, so that when they become adults, eventually, if that's what they want later on in life, to get married, they can help their spouse around the house. And I'm hoping right now, as she's really paying attention to our interactions, mine and my husband's, she is learning how to be a good wife. Now, if she has aspirations for a career where she works outside the home, that's great. If she wants to be a stay-at-home mom like me, that's great. But she needs to see how to be a good wife, not just a stay-at-home or a working outside the home kind of person. I'm also trying to teach her that you really don't know anybody fully until you kind of live with them. And I tell my daughter stories every now and then about things I've learned about her father, and he will do the same. And while we'll make it funny, I think at the time we learn these things, we're like, whoa, I didn't know that. And a lot of his stories are from when we were dating. And a lot of the stories for him are when we were dating and then when we were married. And I like to think that I'm teaching my daughter that when she finds who she thinks is the one later on in life, that she shouldn't look for a guy that she can change. She should look for a man, not a boy, a man, if she decides to wait till dating in college. But she needs to find someone who can function as an adult and be capable of doing all the things that they should have been taught while they were young. Yes, sometimes there are guys that, they don't have a mother figure in their life. Or at least they don't have it or they only have it for a short amount of time because things happen. But, I want her to be able to find somebody who can function as an adult, but also has the recognition that they don't know everything and that they can feel comfortable coming to me because they saw how amazing my daughter turned out from the way her dad and I raised her. And, also I want him to be comfortable coming to me, asking me questions about how to do certain things in case he didn't have either a good mother figure or a mother figure at all. And I want him to be comfortable coming to me, asking me for advice about my daughter if there are things he's not understanding about her behavior or her choices. And usually people kind of learn those things when they're dating, but sometimes I have to go to my mother-in-law for advice about my husband, or just to hear stories about my husband. Like, there are stories I've heard several times over about my husband, and then there are the stories even after being together for 15 years I've never heard, and something in those stories shaped his character and his behavior and will make me realize, oh, that's why he does something. And I want them as a married couple and as possible future parents to be comfortable with me coming over at random times. I want both of them to not be embarrassed by the state of their house, because at one point my depression and anxiety were so bad I couldn't invite people over because I was so embarrassed about the state of my house, and I was afraid to ask for help. I thought I would be judged and unloved because people would see the state of my home. And I'm not saying for anybody listening that this is just for mothers-in-law. There may be awful fathers-in-law too that treat their sons-in-law, their daughters-in-law like crap and make up this whole narrative on how their child-in-law is the villain and they were just trying to quote-unquote help. But I've heard more mother-in-law stories than I have father-in-law. But I'm speaking from the mind as a daughter-in-law and maybe future mother-in-law. My mother-in-law, she would always ask me if I needed anything. And in my head, there are these two battles that were raging for the longest time. One was saying, yes, I need all the help. I need somebody to tell me that I was good enough for my husband, that I was good enough for my daughter, and that I need help around my house. I need help learning how to cook these dishes that my husband loves, even though I don't particularly like them. I can't say that word for some reason, and it's probably because of the very slight lisp that I have. So, if you can't understand something, let me know, please. But then there's that other side. There's that other side of the battle in my head going, no, I can't ask her for help because she will see the way my house is and she will tell me that I am an awful wife, that I am an awful mother, that I'm just an awful person, and she won't love me anymore. And that affected me so much for the longest time that I couldn't ask for help, that I couldn't say, yes, I need you. And all this woman ever did was love me, was show me support. She still does that. And there are days now, because I have seen how bad it had gotten, that she is offering, because she loves me as her daughter, not just her daughter-in-law, her daughter, that if she asks me if I need anything, I will think about it in a way that, do I need it, or do I just need to get off my butt and do it myself? Back then, it was me allowing my depression to take over my life, to get nothing done. But now it's me making sure I motivate myself, that I have that strive to do these things. But if I feel myself becoming overwhelmed, she will be the second person that I ask for help doing something. My husband will be the first. And usually he's pretty great at helping. Sometimes he can't because he doesn't have time. Or I ask at a bad time. And I kind of phrase that wrong about him usually helping me. He will always help me when he can, in any way that he can. And I have finally learned that in the past 3-ish years, in the 13 years we've been married, which seems ridiculous because I was always afraid to ask for his help. As I said I think I said it in episode 1 or episode 2, but I finally learned that, if I want help, I have to ask for it. And that's what I want from my daughter and from my future son-in-law. I want them to know that I will love them despite anything they're struggling through, because we struggled for a very long time financially. Well, I don't want to say a very long time, for a good amount of time into our marriage. When my husband and I got married, I moved in with him in the rental house that he and a roommate were living in, and the roommate moved out because, my husband got married and I was moving in there. A few months in, the lease for that house was going out. And I know that if my in-laws had had room for us, that they would have allowed us to move into the house, move into their house while we were still looking for a new place to live. We ended up moving in with my parents, and it was typically just my dad during the week, and sometimes on the weekend, because at that point in my life, my parents were basically separated. My mother had a house that she had gotten, that she was renting basically from the school because she was in the work program. Because this woman followed me to college. And I'm pretty sure she's kind of the reason why I didn't want to go back. But she was basically living full-time in the city where the college was. And it was just my dad at our family home. And my dad was great. He didn't demand that we pay rent or contribute to anything. But I feel like if my mother had been home, it would have been something completely different. But, for a few months, a couple months, I can't remember how long, we lived in my family home. And then we finally found somewhere, and that's eventually where we had our daughter. And it got me thinking several years later. You hear stories about kids moving back in with their parents because somebody lost a job or kids lost their house and they're basically mooching off the parents or the in-laws. And, they're the ones that are in the fault and they're not contributing to anything. I didn't want that for us. We did contribute to the groceries. I would go grocery shopping for all of us. Not just, my husband and myself in our section of the house. Then it also got me thinking of, what if my daughter has to move in with us because of circumstances? Is she going to want to move in with us? Or is she just going to be like, we have to move in with my parents, or we have to move in with the spouse's parents? And I am kind of excited for my daughter to move out after high school if it is her goal to go to college. I am going to encourage her to at least do a community college, get her associate degree in something so that she can have a job to earn money for whatever dream she has. And who knows, she may meet the man of her dreams at that school and may want to continue an education to get a career that will also allow her to earn money or be part of whatever dream she has. Now, I'm not saying that she should go to a school to meet the man of her dreams. If she's lucky enough for that to happen, hallelujah. But like I was saying before, you really don't know anybody until you move in with them. I've heard and seen so many skits and heard so many stories on social media how these best friends who have been friends all their lives, at least most of their lives, because if you've been friends all your life, you've been friends since birth and death, you don't really know anybody until you move in with them. And sometimes it's a bad choice to move in with them. If, Boo finds somebody who she thinks is the person for her, and they get married and move in together, and they end up being this awful person, either abusive in some way or just flat out lazy, and they just put up this persona of being a great person outside of their living situation. Because even though they might clean up if during the dating phase when they invited them over for dinner or a movie or whatever, and when they got married they expected her to do all the cooking, all the cleaning, the basically mothering, because now they have someone to take care of them, that's going to be a problem. And if she is working outside of the home just as long as her husband, and he is making these huge messes, or he loses his job and just thinks, oh, she has a job, she can support the family, but she needs to come home, do my laundry, cook my dinner, clean my house, while I'm just sitting around playing games, watching whatever. And then if she doesn't do it, he starts becoming, like I said, abusive, either verbally, mentally, emotionally, God forbid, physically. And I don't think I mentioned this in the other 2 episodes, but my husband and I are both black belts in the martial art of Taekwondo. He is a 3rd degree black belt currently, as of October 6, 2023. And I am a 1st degree black belt currently, same date, in that martial art. And she is also involved in this martial art. So if her husband becomes physically aggressive toward her, she will know how to defend herself. But if he has broken her down mentally and emotionally and has been berating her verbally, right now this kid, she has such an open heart, and when people say things to her, she feels it. The whole sticks and stones may break my bones, but words may never hurt me bullcrap is exactly that to her. Bullcrap. She feels those words. And if somebody, they start to do all those things and then become physical, she will think that she might deserve this. And if, I notice these kinds of things, or if my husband noticed these kinds of things, first there will be words. And I hope you can understand this. You as a mother or a father, if a father is listening to this, or as a mother-in-law or father-in-law, whether it is your child that is being abused or their spouse that is being abused by your child, and their behavior was changed when they left the house, because there are a lot of stories on the internet where these parents never noticed these behaviors while their child was at home, and are shocked to hear these things when they become adults. Their child's spouse tells them these things. Because, sometimes no matter how you raise and treat your child, they may end up on the completely different path that you wanted them or encouraged them to go on to. But as parents, it is your job, your responsibility, your calling to protect either your child or somebody from your child. If that be the case, if my daughter's husband goes after her in any way and I see the signs, like I said, it will start with words. That's not how it will end, but it will definitely start with words. But if the mother of my daughter's future husband is listening to this, don't take just that section of the podcast as I'm going to hate my child's future husband. No, I want to love my daughter's future spouse as a child of my own and treat them the same way that my mother-in-law treated me, with love, with kindness, respect, and acceptance. I am all about giving somebody the benefit of the doubt. People make mistakes. They don't understand that what they're doing is wrong. Or not acceptable in some way. And again, I'm not saying that my daughter should choose somebody, again, if she wants to get married to this person because she thinks she can fix them. If she goes into a relationship with that mindset, she's set up for failure. And when she starts dating and she's complaining that her significant other, her boyfriend, is doing all of these things, like, I don't know, but doing things that she has problems with, but she thinks she can fix and make him change, I'm gonna tell her that she needs to break up, because the only way he will change is if he wants to. Because you're not gonna fix somebody, you're not gonna change anybody unless they want to be changed. Anybody who is in counseling for an addiction will tell you this. Yes, there will be some behaviors that with the significant other that you need to talk about. And if you can put out calmly why you don't appreciate this behavior, this action, or you're uncomfortable with this behavior or this action, and you can have a calm conversation about it and ask them to do something in a different way. Yes, that is them opening for change if they can talk to you about it and not feel like they are being berated or being talked down to. I'm going to talk about it again, this podcast that my husband and I are listening to, the To Be Better podcast by Chris Burkett. Him and his wife Chris, aka Peaches, they get emails, so many emails from somebody in a couple, either dating or married, talking about how they need advice on how to change their significant other or how they need to change for their significant other. And they talk about so many other different topics when it comes to being in a relationship. And if you're struggling with mental health, hormones, past trauma, they talk about those kinds of things. So if you're looking for a podcast like that, go check them out. It is the number 2 Be Better. They have a YouTube, Patreon, Discord. They're on Rumble, and I think I know for sure that they're on TikTok, because that's where my husband and I found them. But if you want listen to that kind of podcast, go listen to it. But also, keep listening to this one, because I may say something that they don't, or I just want you to listen to the sound of my voice, because I'm so tired of hearing it in my own head. But I'm getting off the point of being a mother-in-law. I want to be, first, a great mother that will teach her child how to be a good, hardworking, independent, well-functioning adult. I want her to learn how to be a good wife by example, because that is the best way to show your child how to be a good wife, how to be a good husband, is by example, because your kids are watching you. They are listening to you, whether you realize it or not. A great example of this is we started implementing something called a check-in. And it's from the To Be Better podcast. There's a list of questions. There's one for the adults, and then they have one for kids. One of the kids' questions is basically, are there any concerns at home that you would like to talk about? Unfortunately, like some marriages, my husband and I had some, we'll call them loud conversations. And I didn't realize that she was hearing and listening to them. And we no longer have those kinds of conversations, but we do have playful yelling because we're just having fun with each other. But she, I guess, still thinks that we are having loud conversations. But we explained to her that, we no longer have those kind of conversations, and we are speaking now more with love than anger or being upset or frustrated with somebody. Either one of us, like we used to. I was always told that the kids are always watching, always listening, and you hear these funny stories of these kids hearing, if you're okay with cursing in your family, until you reach a certain age, you're allowed to curse and whatnot. These kids will hear these swear words when they start talking and either just directly repeat what they heard, or they will use them in the proper context. And these things are funny and everything, but those always get me thinking, like, I need to watch what I say when I stub my toe or I run into the door handle, which only ever really happens when I'm upset or irritated at something. The pocket or the sleeve of whatever shirt, cardigan, hoodie I'm wearing only ever gets caught when I'm upset. Why is that? Why is that? But when we started the check-ins and she came across that question, she said something that she didn't like us yelling, because in the past we'll call them loud conversations, and neither one of us were really paying attention to the tone, the volume of ourselves as we were having these loud conversations, and neither one of us, again, really understood that she was listening. But since we've become better at communicating, we no longer have those loud conversations, and we play fight, we play yell at each other. But if one of us notices that we are getting upset, one of us will leave the room, take a hot minute, and then come back into whatever conversation we're having. And she's seeing that now. But I think she was really just expressing her concerns about the past, which is having me think, okay, how can I explain to her that it is okay to leave before an argument can really start and get really heated? And obviously, when my daughter feels like she's ready to start dating and then maybe get married, I want her to see the example of a good husband by watching her dad. And, obviously there are times when a girl does not have a good father figure in her life, or a father figure at all, that there's struggles with that. But right now, unless something happens to my husband before she gets married, that's really depressing. I don't want to think about that, but currently she has a great example of what a husband and spouse partner in life should be. This is the kind of person she should be looking for in a spouse. And when she brings over the guy that she decides to start dating, I want him to be able to see what a great mother I've been to her, and what a great mother I could be to him if he's thinking about proposing to Boo. And I want him to see what a great father figure and teacher my husband is. And I want him to be able to come to my husband for advice on any and everything. But dear future son-in-law, know that if you prove to be the man that you have portrayed yourself as being. Never once think that I won't love you. Never once think that I will ever think you are unworthy. Never think that you cannot come to me for advice, helping Boo in the future, or for, a gift. You may know her better than I do in the future. But right now, I know her as well as she kind of knows herself. Dear future son-in-law, I cannot wait to welcome you into this family. And I will pray for you every day that you will not only trust the decisions that you make, but that you will also trust in your wife to always have your back, your side, your front, and your hand when you need it. And I think that is a great place to end this. So, if you have any comments, questions, or recommendations, send those to southernmillennialmoms@gmail.com. Keep it clean, keep it kind, but keep it real. Okay, love y'all. Bye.